Hello, everyone. Welcome to Tangle Time Arts. My name is Nana Heron, and I'm a certified Zentangle teacher. And today we are looking at our Tangle of the Week, week 11, but it's also our annual Shamrock project for St. Patrick's Day. So we're going to combine those two events. And I think today, we'll do something easy so that everyone who'd like to make a shamrock can do so. And so our featured tangle is going to be Flukes. I don't think we've done that one yet, but we're going to put that in our shamrock. If you would prefer to do a different tangle in your shamrock, of course, you can go ahead and pick your favorite tangle, or you could do several tangles. For this project, we're using basic equipment here. We have our black pen, our number 2 pencil, and our tortillon. And tortillons come in different sizes and lengths. And today I've got a little longer one just because it's easier for me sometimes to hold on to and to blend with. And I also have a white tile. If you don't have one of these, you can use a sketchbook or a piece of computer paper to follow along. But I think white would work best today. I also will be using, and this is optional, but I will be using gel pens. And this is my now old box of Altitude gel pens. They've held up really, really well. So I'm just going to keep using them. And they're very reasonably priced too. So if you're interested, I got these at Target. And I think they were between $5 and $7 when I got them. All right, so let's get started. So, how are we going to draw a shamrock? Well, we're going to use some very light pencil lines to kind of guide us. And if you've done this before, you might not need these pencil lines. But for those of you who haven't done it before, I'm simply taking a pencil and drawing from corner to corner, just very lightly. Um, I'm actually doing it a little darker so that you can see on the camera. But you just kind of want to go along the diagonal and put in a pencil line. And you want to do the same for the other two corners, like that. So we basically have an X. And at that point, you can trade your pencil for a black pen. And for the shamrock, we're going to draw 3 hearts. So you can pick any of the triangles to start in and go ahead and let's see. We're just going to draw, I'm going to start in the center here and put one here and here and here. Just going to draw a heart. And then I'm going to rotate and do another one here. They don't need to be identical, but similar. And then I need one on this side. Like that. And then you can also add a stem. So I am just going to draw a curved line. And I like mine to go kind of to the left. If you would prefer to go to the right, that's up to you, but I prefer to go to the left. And then I'm going to draw another one, just like that, and finish that with a circle or an oval. We'll come back to that later. So for flukes, starts with a grid, your basic grid, but because this is heart-shaped and there's curves, I'm going to make a slightly curved grid. So I'm going to kind of follow along this side of the heart, and I'm going to aura that on the inside like that. And then I'm just going to keep doing that across my heart. So I have 4 sections. I'm going to rotate a little bit and do the same thing along that other curve. Like that. And I'm going to do that for each of the hearts. Just kind of meet up there. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. But you don't have to force it if it doesn't. Just go with the flow. And again, along this curve as well. You might be able to add that little bit there. And we could probably do that up here as well, kind of make these more square-ish. So you can see we've got a grid going in these, but it does have a little bit of a curve to it. And then we just have the one heart left to add our grid to. All right, so they all have a grid in them. And at this point, I am going to trade out my black pen for one of the gel pens, the metallic gel pens. Um, you can continue on with the black pen and it's going to look awesome. I just thought I'd add a little pop of color for St. Patrick's Day. So I'm going with my green metallic gel pen. So for Flukes, it's really cool and it's really easy because I'm going to pick one of these squares that's a little larger to start with. But you want to put in like a little um, V shape so that we've got a little square here in the corner, and then you're going to ink that in. So I'm using the green pen, but you can go ahead and use a black pen. That's fine. And we're going to do that for each one of the squares. So each square is getting a little square. Now I chose the point that's at the top, but you could pick another point. That's up to you. And this is kind of a half square, but we're still going to put it in that same corner. The important thing is that your little square is always in the same corner. So I chose the upper corner, so they're all going to be in that upper corner. And I like to put in all of my little squares first before the next step. I'm just going to assume there's a little bit of a point here from that corner. I'm just going to focus in this heart right now. So I have all of my little squares in the larger squares. And once you have that, then you're just going to aura around that little square like that. And then you'll do it again. So you can do that 2 or 3 times. It depends really on how big your initial squares are. So maybe some of you might only be able to do it once. That's okay. And you're just going to do that for each square now. Put in those auras. It goes pretty quickly. I think this one I can add an extra line in there. And this one I'm gonna start kind of from the edge and work my way in because I don't really have a little square to work off of. All right, so that is Flukes. It's pretty easy and it goes pretty quickly. And we're going to do that for each of the hearts. So I'm going to rotate. Now, I am using the same tangle in each of the hearts. Something that you might want to try later on is to use different tangles. So you could use Flukes here, you could use Knightsbridge here, you might use Floors over here. You could switch it up like that and try different tangles, and that looks super cool as well. But I'm just keeping it easy today. So I'm going to rotate, and now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm still using Flukes. And again, I'm going to use put the little square in the larger square. I'm going to use the corner at the top of the heart shape. So my heart shape goes this way. So the top for this one is that way, points that way. So I'm going to put my little squares in this way just to get a little variation. You could keep them all going the same way if you wanted to, and you could put your little square on this corner to the left. Again, there's multiple ways that you can play around with this, and that's what makes Zentangle so fun. You can try different things and experiment and figure out what works best for you. And you might even come up with something new. Wouldn't that be fun? So I'm putting in all of my little squares in the corner, and then I am just going to aura around them. So for me, because these are kind of small, I'm only able to fit in about 2 auras. If you're working larger, you can fit in more. But yeah, that goes really, really quickly. We have 2 done. And now we just have our third one. So I'm going to rotate around. And the same thing, I'm going to be consistent. And this heart, the top of it is here. So I am going to put my little squares in the top corner there. So I'm just being consistent, but you could, like I said, you could try different corners and see how that turns out. This one's a little wonky here, so I'm just going to fit that in like that. And this one's also a little wonky. That's okay. And this one too. How fun. All right, now I can put in my auras. And like I said, if you're using black ink, this is going to look awesome as well because it's all in that pattern. I think I can fit three in here. So sometimes I've got two, sometimes I have three, and that's totally fine. All right, we have that filled in, and that looks pretty cool. Another thing that we can do is skip down here to our stem. It looks kind of plain. So I think at this point, I am probably just going to add some striping in here. I'm just going to do that with my green um, pen. So I'm adding just some curved lines. And then within that, I'm just at picking sections. And I'm not totally inking it in, but I'm just adding more curved lines that are very close together. There are other things you could do, like you might put some orbs, like do orbs all the way in there. And in this section, I'm just going to add a spiral in there, but I'm doing it in green, like that. I think I'm going to put the cap on my green gel pen now. And I'm going to pick up my black pen again. And I'm going to add some kind of aura, but not around the whole shamrock. So I'm going to start here and kind of gradually go out a little bit so that it's like an aura. But when I come back in, it's going to go right into that point. And again, I'm going to do that for each one of them. And I think it just looks so much nicer with that um, extra space around it. That, that looks cool. But I don't think I need it around the stem. And another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little bit of rounding here. So I'm going to just do it with the black pen, but you could do that with the metallic pen if you'd like. These angles are really sharp, so I'm just doing a little bit of rounding. And if you watch again, it's just putting a little curve here and then inking that in. Again, optional, but I like to add rounding when I can. And I'm going to do that in these areas as well. And just a reminder when you're working with any type of gel pen, they can take longer to dry than the traditional black ink can. So just be careful when you're working with it because it's really easy to smear them. So I've got a little bit of black in there just to um, offset that. You could do that here too, but I don't think that's necessary. Now I'm going to take a gold gel pen and I am going to add some Printemps, which is one of my favorite tangles, and I use it a lot. But you can switch this up instead of the circle. They can be squares or triangles, and in this case, I'm going to put them in as ovals. So let's just put one in here. Kind of start with like a C, a cursive C, and loop around. You're just going to do an aura around the shapes, but we're going to pull it out into more of an oval shape instead of a round shape. And when you come to an area where there's something else, you just lift up your pen, air draw over to the other side, and then keep going. So I'm just doing these as ovals because they kind of remind me more of possibly like gold coins. And I'm just going to go off the tile and then back in. And any little area like this, I can fill in because I like to do that. And for me, I might go back in and ink over the black with the gold, just because I am using gel pen. But I did it in black because a lot of you might be using just the black ink only. And so I wanted to demonstrate so you could see how it was done. All right, so I'm going to add another one here. And these can be different sizes too. There's a little space there, so I'm going to ink that in. And another thing that I can do with these is add a little love to certain areas. So I went along that again, and I have a space here, and I'm going to just add a little bit of that gold to it. And that just has a really nice effect. It just makes things look a little, I don't know, a little more finished, I guess. All right, so you can fit these in randomly. You can keep them in the same direction, or you can rotate and put them in. Like I'll switch up the direction so that you can see how that looks. Again, this is more of an oval shape than a round shape at this point. Add a little love there. And there's no rhyme or reason as to really where you would add a little love. It's kind of like a personal thing, I guess. For me, if I see an area that kind of, for example, it kind of went out like that, and I want it more curved, I'm going to do that and then ink that in. Maybe I'll just add a smaller one here. And again, I met with a tangle here or a line here. So I'm going to pick up my pen, airdrop over to the other side, and then just keep going. I have a few little spaces here that I'm just going to ink in. Maybe put, you can also add little orbs. So I'm going to add one here. Ink that in. And let's see, we could add a little orb here. And let's put in some little Printemps here. And again, these are going to be oval shaped. Fill this in with gold and add a little love. So you can add as many of these as you would like. I have a little space here that I'm going to ink in. And again, that's optional. You don't have to ink them in. No worries either way. Pull that out into an oval. And add a little love here. Maybe I'll just put a little orb there. It's a tiny one. And we can go in this way. And if you're not a fan of Printemps, you can go ahead and add a different tangle in your background. Like maybe you want to have crazy and Zeppel or floors or bales. Um, think about what your favorites are and work with those. Because some people worry about, but I'm always using the same ones. But there are different combinations and there's different ways of shading, and you can use different colors. So there's a whole bunch of different things that you can do, even if they are the same tangles. Bring that right back in. And I've got some spaces here to fill in. I like to fill them in as I go. Some people like to do all the swirly stuff first and then go back and fill them in. There's no right or wrong. Oh, I think I need a little orb here. And maybe one here. And let's see how this is looking. And you can see like even after all this time, the gel pen wasn't quite dry. So I did get a little bit of a smear here, but that's okay because we're going to put a little spiral over that. And it actually kind of looks cool. And maybe one more here. Go this way a little bit. Okay. Now we can take a look and see if there's any little stray spaces that we forgot to fill in. Maybe we want to put an orb in here and there, little rounding. Um, that's just really a matter of preference. So take a look at yours and fill it in. It's going to look different from mine, and that's exactly what's supposed to happen. Let's see. We could put in an orb here. And your little orbs can be different sizes as well. And maybe I want one here, or maybe I don't. I'll leave that one without. I think that's pretty much it for my little Printemps and my little orbs. I'm going to put the cap on that one. You have the option of inking in this area here. I'm going to leave it white, I think. I am tempted to go in with like a copper color, um, but let's do some shading first because we can always add that last layer uh, after we've done some shading. So I'm not going to do a lot of shading. I mean, that being said, I'm not going to do a lot of shading, but I think I'm going to go along, gently go along these lines a little bit, just on one side. So I'm just going along the top left side of my flukes here and just going in with a little bit of shading. I'm going to rotate and I'm going to keep that consistent and do that top left. And the same for this one, the top left after I rotated. All right, I'm going to add a little shading here in the center where all of the little leaf parts meet and the stem meets, so a little bit on the stem as well. And then I'm also going to add some shading along the inside here of each heart. And also I just want to add that another reason that my metallic gel pen's probably not drying as quickly as it does on some other days is because um, we woke up to snow here in the Chicago area. So we've got that kind of dampness in the air. So yeah, surprise, we're having a snow shower after gosh, it was just maybe 2 days ago it was like 80 degrees here. Yeah, it's the weather. All right, so I'm just adding some graphite along the inside of each little heart-shaped leaf. And it's very light pressure. Very, very light pressure. Like almost no pressure at all. Okay. And then with our stem, I'm just adding a little bit on one side here. Um, that's about it. And a little bit in the end here. And then we have our Printemps, our little like pretend gold coins here. And we've got some areas where it goes behind other ones. And then I'm going to add some shading for those. Don't have a lot of those spaces, so there's not really a lot I can do, but for those that are like this one is behind this one and this one is behind this one, um, we can just add a little bit of a tiny bit of shading there. I think these are okay. And then I am going to add some shading outside of the heart shapes, outside of the entire shamrock. Put some outside of the stem here. Just focusing on the shamrock right now. A little bit of graphite all the way around. Take your time. It's not a contest. Sometimes I have to remind myself, just slow down and just enjoy the moment. Like be present in the moment. But I literally have to remind myself sometimes. So we have that all done. And then we can also add some shading along the outside of all the Printemps and the orbs. So a lot of shading, if you want to do shading. It's not absolutely necessary to do all of the shading that I'm doing. You might have your own ideas about shading. And I would invite you to give those ideas a try. That's how we actually learn. Um, like for me, the best is when I try something and maybe it doesn't quite work out the way I was thinking, but I'll remember that and I've learned. Okay, I think I've got enough graphite on there to start with. And so I am going to take my tortillon. And like I mentioned, this is a longer one because there's quite a lot of shading today. And this longer blending stump is more comfortable for me when I'm doing a lot of shading. And I like to work from the center out. So I'm going to get this center here, blend that out. And then I'm going to go along those top lines that we did. And I'm going to rotate. I'm just going to do that for all of them. So I very much, for something like this, I'll work in order. I'll do one area for all of them. And again, be gentle because the gel pen is taking a long time to dry today. And then we have our insides of the heart shapes. So we're just going to blend that out for each of them. All right. So you can already see some depth in there, and that's the cool part about shading and blending and doing all of that. And now we're going to go along the outside. So I'm just going to start with the top part and go along gently, go along the outside, just blending a little bit. And for this particular project, it's just a back and forth type of motion. And I didn't really put any graphite on the outside here because I have it on the inside of the stem. So we're going to pick it up here. Kind of skipping over the little orbs because I really want those to be white. Like shiny little pearls. All right, so we made it all the way around. And then our last area of shading is really around the printemps and any areas within the printemps where it was behind. Like I have an area right here. So I'm gonna blend that out and also blend around. And you can see that my original pencil lines, although they're still there, you can slightly see them. They're very, they mostly blend in with the project. All right, I think we did this area and this area. Let's go down to this area here. We've got a little bit in here. And then we need to get the outside. And then in here we have this area, just a little bit. And then we need to blend around the outside. I think that's about it for me. Now I need to add my initials. I'm trying to kind of think where I want to do that. That's kind of always, sometimes it takes me a little while to figure it out. And what I would suggest sometimes is, I can't do this on the camera, but actually pick it up, hold it at arm's length, and kind of like rotate it and see where you want to put your initials. I'm going to tuck mine in just right here, in this little corner here with my gold gel pen, just to fill that in. That looks really cute. I like it. And yes, I think I'm going to just stick with this being white, but you could fill that in if you would prefer. And I'm going to leave those areas black, but they could be filled in with the gold gel pen if you would prefer that instead. All right, let's fill this out. Flip that over and be very careful not to move it now because of the gel pen might still be drying. And it is 25th, and this is our weekly tangle. I think it's number 11. And it's also our St. Patrick's Day project. And our featured tangle was Flukes by Zentangle. All right, how cute is that? That's cute. I like it. Um, it's just got that subtle color to it. Just the two colors, the green and the gold with the black for some extra oomph. and it's super cute, super cute. And then we have our little Printemps gold coins in the more oval shape. Um, and and then a few little orbs, but not too many, not too many. So super cute, super fun. Switch it up, play around with different tangles in the shamrock itself and on the outside of the shamrock. Let me know what you tried and what would be cool, because maybe I could do that for next year's shamrock. All right, have a wonderful St. Patrick's Day. Enjoy, have fun, and I'll see you back for our next weekly tangle. And have a great week. All right, I love you guys. I'm so proud of you all too. Have a great day. Bye.